Today, I was feeling ambitious and decided to go to Moho. Now, obviously, this is a pretty ambitious mission, at least for the current state of KSP2 at the moment, which is very buggy. And as you will see, lots in this video, the Kraken doesn't exactly want me to do this, and I experienced lots of bugs and indeed lots of Kraken attacks. Now, as you can see here, I'm building the lander and just the rockets that will get this lander into orbit, because we are going to be launching the lander and the mothership separately, something that I don't actually do much in this game, but I think it's a good idea for this mission since our Moho rocket is already going to have to be super big and obviously top heavy for the rocket we put on it. As you can see here though, I'm just building a simple rocket to carry this lander into orbit. It's pretty simple, just gave it some nice orange color. And there we go, lifting off here. We've got Jebediah Kerman piloting this thing. And this is just going to go into low carbon orbit. This won't go to Moho or anything. And actually, I took a bit too much of a shallow angle of attack when I was ascending here, because clearly I stayed in the atmosphere for too long and I actually started spinning out of control. It was a complete disaster. But this first one, I guess that this wasn't really the game's fault. This was kind of my fault. I've got to admit that. But anyway, here we are in the upper atmosphere, detaching that first stage. As you can see, I'm staying in the atmosphere for way too long. I don't even think I'm realizing it at the moment. I think I thought I was above the 70,000 meter mark, but I'm still at 65,000 meters. So I started spinning out of control there, as you might have seen. But anyway, it didn't cost much, we could just warp up to our apoapsis. And now we can circularize. So now the lander is officially in orbit and Jebediah Kerman is in orbit with it. So now we can begin construction on the Mothership, which is the vessel that will get us to Moho and indeed back to Kerbin. Now, as you can see, I'm putting some solar panels on it and some RTGs. Not really sure why I put RTGs on it, because obviously Moho is the closest planet to the sun in Kerbal Space Program 2 and indeed Kerbal Space Program 1. So we shouldn't really need RTGs, because you really only need RTGs if you don't have solar panels. So if you're going to a destination like, let's say, Elu or maybe Jewel, that's kind of far away from the sun, so solar panels don't exactly work as well. But with Moho, that's not the case, because Moho is very close to the sun. So those solar panels get lots of nice sunlight to convert into energy. And as you can see here, I'm constructing the rocket, and here was the first Kraken attack. Not even after I left the launch pad, the Kraken struck. And as you see, I'm adding some struts here, lots of struts indeed. But this is when things were not good. I tried launching the vessel, so I'm just starting on the launch pad here. I realized I didn't have a crew, so I went back to select some, and my vehicle is underneath the map. Underneath the map. And no matter what I did, reloading the game, doing all that stuff, it just would not work, and I couldn't even launch it. So I had to rebuild the entire thing and launch it here. As you can see here, we are launching. We've got our whole crew here. We've got lots of Kerbals here. We've got 4 Kerbals here because we need to obviously make space for Jebediah Kerman, who's currently floating in orbit. Then the crew is about to go meet up with him. As you can see here, unlike the last launch, we are taking a very steep ascent profile up into space. And obviously this was not as efficient, but hey, it was fine. As you can see, pretty top heavy. I forgot to add separatrons to those side boosters, so they did a bit of a weird detachment, if you know what I mean. But anyway, there we are, detaching the fairing there, extending the solar panels, and now we can just warp up to our apoapsis and begin our rather expensive burn to circularize. As you can see, I've also got 8 vector engines in that core stage supporting it. We didn't really need those top vector engines, so I detached them. And now we can just boost our way to orbit. We are now in orbit, and the lander is in orbit with us. So now we're going to use a combination of the lander and the mothership to dock with each other. And yes, this video, at the time, I thought this is going to be a very simple and easy mission. It looks like everything's turning out well for me, I've got enough fuel in this mothership. We've got fuel in the lander. We're going to Moho, and we're going to do this. However, this was not an easy mission. This was absolute torture trying to get to work, as you probably saw from the title of Moho Mayhem in the thumbnail. I absolutely lost my mind in this mission. It was absolutely just insanity trying to get this to work. But as you can see, none of that's happening right now. We are just docking the two vessels together, and we're less than a kilometer away from the lander now, so we can just do a bit of a boost towards it. And now we're getting extremely close, less than 100 meters to it. And now that they are really close, we can set each one as our target and, just face each one. It was a bit of an awkward docking, as you can see here. Not as smooth as, let's say, I don't know, Crew Dragon docking with the ISS or whatever. It was not smooth at all. We did a lot of rotating around, but it doesn't matter. We are docked. We have the lander and the mothership docked together. So now we can head off to Moho. Now Moho, as I said earlier, I think I did. Anyway, we're EVA Jebediah Kerbin here, just from the lander into the mothership. As you can see, that hatch works fine. But back to what I was saying. So with this, right, Moho is a very expensive destination to go to. You can see me escaping Kerbin here, which costs less than 1,000 meters per second at Delta V, which is pretty nice. But getting to Moho, not so much. Moho is very close to the sun. On top of that, it's on a not perfectly circular orbit and is also inclined. Its orbit is not perfectly equatorial. So yes, this is a hard place to get an encounter with. Anyway, as you can see, I've escaped Kerbin now, and I'm lowering my periapsis down so I can get a Moho encounter that I planned with my maneuver. As you can see, it's very fiddly trying to get a Moho encounter, just because of its small sphere of influence. You can see how low its gravity is, because, my encounter trajectory isn't even curving around Moho. It's just like a straight line. So as you can see here, we are at Moho now, and it costs 3,613 meters per second to circularize at Moho. Yes, it is a very expensive destination to circularize at, which is why getting to Moho and back is extremely difficult. And it doesn't help that KSP2 is full of bugs at the moment right now. But anyway, now the mothership and the lander are in orbit, and here was my first attempt at landing. Didn't go so well. And the second attempt, well, yeah. And the third attempt, I just realized I was going in way too fast and I would never be able to slow down in time, so I just slowed it back to when I was descending. I didn't show you all the undocking from the mothership because I think that's just pretty boring, and this video, that's only 14 minutes long, so longer than most of my videos, and I know I have very short attention spans when it comes to YouTube, so I assume you all do as well. But anyway, here we are. We actually landed on a hill. This is when the Kraken struck again. As you can see, there is a random fuel tank beside the hatch. That fuel tank was not there before, I swear. You could see that it was not there before. And for that very reason, after all this effort, I could not get Jebediah Kerbin out on EVA and plant the flag. I was absolutely devastated. And there's a random fuel tank beneath the landing legs. I'm like, what? The fuel tanks just decided they want to move, I guess. But anyway, here's a nice shot of us. Anyway, we have landed on Moho. We have done it. We have actually done this. Am I the first person to land on Moho? No, I know I'm not the first person to land on Moho, but am I the first person to get back from Moho? I honestly don't think so. KSP's been out for more than a month. I know, at least I think I was the first person to make a Mon base, but I'm pretty sure that's not the case for this Moho mission. Anyway, here we are, taking off here, getting ready to redock with the mothership. Now I think about it, maybe Jebediah Kerbin's glad he didn't get out on EVA, because to be honest, he would kind of get cooked by the sun. Obviously, Moho's very, very, very close to the sun. So yeah, he would probably instantly just melt, I guess. So he's probably pretty happy. But Kerbals, they're built for these things, And the solar panels decided they didn't want to be in the same spot anymore. So yeah, that happened. I seriously don't understand why the fuel tanks just decided that they just wanted to change positions. KSP, please fix this damn glitch. Well, I didn't even know this wasn't fixed in the first patch. I know the first patch actually fixed lots of things. I'm really grateful for the first patch. It was absolutely amazing. Now my camera doesn't, get stuck between two vessels or all that stuff. And docking ports actually work. But KSP2 still has a long way to go. Definitely not ready for release yet. But anyway, I am excited for lots of the features of KSP2. Like, I'm mainly excited for interstellar travel, going to other star systems and being able to explore a whole variety of, other planets, which will be really cool. And there we go. We have now docked the two vessels together, and it is time to go home. But this is when the next Kraken attack happened. As you can see, I've planned a maneuver that would get me a Kerbin encounter, and I'm performing that maneuver here, and I'm like, yes, great. It says I have a Kerbin encounter, or at least I'm and it says I have a Kerbin encounter. So now I just did a mid-course correction, but I'm like, yes, this is working. Oh my gosh, it's going to be amazing. But anyway, as you can see, time warping away. Yeah, my orbit completely changed on me. It's literally completely different to what it was before. I don't understand why this happened. And this happened a few times, actually. Maybe that was just a case that I overshot my encounter. I honestly don't know. But the next attempt, right, as you'll see here, as I'll just show you in a second. As you see here, I'll try burning again to another Kerbin encounter. And, well, this is what happens. I get out of Moho's sphere of influence and realize my orbit is closer to the sun, even though I was trying to make it further away from the sun, and it said my orbit was further away from the sun. So it was lying to me. Anyway, I transferred Jebediah Kerman into the Mothership, and I was like, right, screw you, game. I will not fall to you. I will not bow down to your bugs. I'm going to just perform a simple escape burn of Moho, and then we can just do another burn around sun orbit to, get a Kerbin encounter, which is a lot less efficient, but the maneuver node burns was just completely lying to me. So I was not up for this anymore. I was like, no, this is not happening. And as you can see here, I am escaping Moho here, and as you can see, my orbit's completely different to what I intended it to be, but that's fine because I didn't change it much. So now I can just warp out of Moho's sphere of influence and do a burn up to Kerbin, getting myself an actual Kerbin encounter, as you can see here. Now, as you can see, I tried to do the mid-course correction myself, but I ended up just having to use the maneuver tool to find which nodes to press to, get my encounter a lot closer to Kerbin, because we want to be entering the atmosphere as well. And as you can see here, we have now a pretty close encounter. Just a bit of fine-tuning later, and we are on a course to enter Kerbin's atmosphere and land on Kerbin. Now, as you can see, I am time warping back from Moho, and here we are, just coming back into Kerbin. Now, as you can see Kerbin probably below the screen, and now we can just detach the crew module from the Mothership, which has all the Kerbals in it, including Jebediah, and now we can enter the atmosphere. The Kerbals didn't experience any more than 10 Gs, I think, which is nice. Which is pretty good for, my missions. Usually re-entries in my missions you get some pretty high Gs. Obviously 10 Gs is very high. I wonder if Kerbals actually pass out if they reach a G limit. That would be kind of cool. Maybe like pilots could have like more G's tolerance or something. I don't know. I think it'd be a pretty cool mechanic. But anyway, here we are descending into a mountain range. Look how beautiful this looks. And anyway, here we are landing on the surface. Our mission is complete. If you for some reason enjoyed this video, consider watching more of my videos, and maybe even giving this video a like if you like it. And let me know what I should do next, because I've got some ideas such as going to Elu, or maybe doing a Duel 5, lots of different things, so please let me know what you would like to see me do next in this game, and I'll see you all next time.